Hey everyone, Dr. Nadia Rizzo here, naturopathic doctor. Dr. Nadia Rizzo here, naturopathic doctor. And I'm so excited to be joining you today. I tried to do the landscape thing, but because I don't have an iPhone, it's not working. We are going to be joined today by a really special guest. I am so excited to bring this person on. We've gone live once before. You might know him as JC of JC Limitless, aka John Cerrone. I'm going to bring him in. And he is when it comes to pulling yourself up out of your excuses and being able to step up and show up for the life that you dare to live. This man's story is so inspiring, and we are all so lucky to have him guide us through how we can do that when we're sitting in a time of, maybe our excuses are actually legitimate. Maybe our circumstances, are very real and very valid, but how can we get past that and stop leaning on our excuses or our circumstances in order to step up and show up to live the life we really want to live? So he's the
What's up? How we doing today?
Hey.
There. I think that's better.
Yeah. Okay.
Sweet. What's up, everybody? Let me handle something really quick.
So let us know if you're watching, where you're watching from.
I want to make sure that I share this out on my page so that way we can let everybody know we're here.
Amit saying fun with audio. Yeah, we're skipping the static today, hopefully.
I think we're good. I think we're good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here with you guys. And so, what brings the topic of excuses to the table?
You're supposed to be the one doing the talking today, but
I need something to go off of, like what type of excuses are we talking about? Because we can't make excuses for the excuses, because that would just be crazy.
Yeah, so I was having a chat with my friend. I did a video recently and your name popped out, and I was having a chat with a friend of mine, Dr. Laura Bellis, and we were talking about a business investment, and we made we said, oh, you want to go halvesies on this, and it was basically coming to a point of, wait a minute, if you both want to get a return on your investment and you're both wanting to take the risk to actually live a life that you actually we both say we want to live, why in the hell are you leaning on each other instead of showing up and doing what you need to do when you're both very capable? Like, let go of the freaking crutch and just show up to do what you want to do. And then it made me think about how sometimes circumstances can actually be legitimate. Sometimes someone's financial situation is a very real thing. Okay, so what about those times then when the excuses are actually legitimate circumstances, but how do we stop leaning on that to actually pull ourselves forward? Because sometimes I think we use our legitimate excuses. I have been doing this for sure. We use our legitimate excuses too much.
What would be a legitimate excuse?
Oh man, really? You're supposed to be
I'm going to. I've got a lot here, but I need to get to the basis of where the excuses are coming from. Like, I need to understand the other perspective so I can share mine.
Yeah, that's where, so say like someone is this is kind of a little more serious. I would say someone's dealing with an addiction. Say someone is dealing with a parent in the household who has an addiction. Say someone is dealing with, they're trying to finish school and there's only so many hours in the day and they're trying to work and finish school and they're a single parent. Like, those are all very real circumstances, but how do you pull yourself past some of those real circumstances? Like, they're valid, not saying they're not, but how do we stop,
So I go to the origin of like everything, right? Because there's always like a surface problem, like, and we acknowledge it and we try to remedy that. But if we don't get to the source of where the actual cancer is coming from, it's just going to keep recurring over and over again, right? Like, it's kind of like motivation. Like, I don't feel good and I'm going to watch this motivational video right now and then I'm going to get all hyped up and then later I'm not going to feel good again because I didn't deal with what made me not feel good, right? So digging into like the source of it, and the simplest form for me to break this down is that it's just lying to yourself, right? Because an excuse is a pretty word for, reason is a pretty word for excuse. Like, my reason for not having this done today is blah, 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 which is a pretty word for excuse. And excuse is a pretty word for I'm lying, right? Like, I'm not showing up. Like, instead of me, let's say, like, I'm writing that book right now, right? And let's say that I had a deadline to have it done yesterday, and today came and it wasn't done. I can make the excuse that, man, like, I didn't have time. I was with my son a lot. I got him more than normal. I took on more clients. Like, my days are packed more. Those are legitimately excuses. Like, those are lies. Like, I'm lying to myself. And when I lie to myself, it holds back my potential. Excuses are the gatekeeper. Like, they are holding the gate closed to getting to your potential. Like, on the other side of that excuse lies all of our potential. So I think the biggest thing that everyone can realize is that, like, the excuses are a lie. Like, we have to come to terms with, like, our actual reality and what is really going on. Now, I'm not saying that those things didn't get in the way. I'm not saying maybe I did get my son more. Maybe I did take on more clients. Maybe things were happening, but now it comes down to, where was I? Now that my life has changed, did I take time to, what's the word I'm looking for? Evaluate everything going on and reprioritize to make sure that I got my book done, right? Like, so as life comes, as life changes, we constantly need to evaluate and then evolve with it. We have to change with it. We have to take on all the new responsibilities, all the new things coming in our life, and say, okay, I need to prioritize. Maybe throughout the week, and this is one big thing too that eliminates 90% of all the excuses that I do with everybody that I work with, is that I have them for 2 weeks write down from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., hour by hour, what they did for the day. So no matter what it is, and set an alarm on your phone every single hour of the day it goes off. Write down what you did the last hour. And I don't mean like, oh, I was with a client. Like, what exactly happened minute for minute through that hour? Like, I need like a nice little paragraph for each hour that went by. It's going to be time consuming throughout the 2 weeks, but you're going to find all the times you've been scrolling on Facebook, all the times you were reading memes, all the times you were involved in conversations you shouldn't have been involved in. And what I do is I have them take that list of all the things that they have there, and then they put it in 2 categories. 1, this adds to my goals and what I want to do with my life. And 2, it's a complete waste of my time. And they're going to see that literally, I mean, I can do it today and still find a large percentage of my day is just wasted because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't aware. And the more that you can, I mean, this is like real serious stuff. If you really are serious, like, it's do or die for these goals. Like, and everything that I do, another thing that I do is I make everything is do or die. Like, everything I do, I'm willing to die for my goals. Am I going to die? No. Like, is anybody going to die? No, nobody's going to die. But with that demeanor in mind, with that mindset, like, if somebody came to me and was like, oh man, Limitless, it'll never make it. It's never going to do what you think it's going to do. Like, I'm willing to die for that debate. I'm willing to go down in flames, making sure that I see my goal through to the end. And with that demeanor, I'm going to get things done. Nobody's going to come and threaten that. None of that stuff's going to happen, but I have a different demeanor. Like, if I held I use this, if I had shoelaces here and my son here, I don't have to even look at my hands, and I know which one has value. I know where I want to spend my time. I know what is most important. I know what I will die for. And my attention, my energy is going towards my hand that has my son in it. So the entire time, it's like a subconscious thing where I'm willing to ride or die for this thing, man. Like, there is no options. Failure is not an option. Excuses are not an option. Anything other than I got the job done is just an excuse. And if I'm giving an excuse, I know I didn't give my best. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So basically, it's just breaking it down in, like, honestly, it's what's pretty much the reverse of an excuse. It's the truth, right? Because within that excuse, like it holds technicalities and
Mhm.
loopholes to give you a hall pass of why you didn't perform today, and
Yeah.
and sometimes things do get in the way, but it's our job to evaluate those things and make sure that we constantly evaluate and prioritize all the time. I do it at least once a week. Like I go back and look and be like, okay, what am I lacking in? What is falling off? What's happening? What's up, Dr. G? Good to see you in here, my friend. And that's where I can find where I'm having my issues or coming up with excuses of not getting my goals done. Is there like that's my perspective on it, and like my overall thought process behind it is like just being honest with yourself, being truthful, and getting to the origin of what really happened, right? Like I got to be truthful if I was watching Netflix this week and I was scrolling Facebook and then I'm saying that I didn't have time, or if I'm waking up at 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning when I could be waking up at 4 or 5. Like there's
Mhm.
always somewhere to make time. If I
Mhm.
didn't, if I'm not keeping track of my day, if I'm not tracking where I'm losing my time, how can I say that I'm losing time? If I say I didn't have time, that's an excuse and it's
Mhm.
unacceptable. Making those things
Mhm.
unacceptable to yourself, it just gives you another standard. Like you set the bar at a whole nother level, and people look at you and like, how did you do it? Like you must be one of the lucky ones. It must be your genetics. It must be this or that. You know what I mean? And it comes from being truthful with yourself, being honest with what's going on, and being able to make those adjustments in real time. Does that make
You
sense?
got a question here. Yeah, you got a question here. Maybe saying, how do you prioritize when you have too many things going on that need equal attention? So how do you prioritize with not
So
son and shoelaces? It's like
yeah. So at this
son and
point,
daughter.
yeah. No, at this point, that's a good question, Dr. G. So at this point, this is where you're going to have to pull in all of your resources, right? Like maybe you have speaking events going on. I'm going to try and be relatable to him. I kind of know what he's doing right now. Maybe you got speaking events going on, multiple speaking events. Maybe you're doing coaching. Maybe you're running your business and you're trying to do your family thing. And a lot of people like to call this kind of like the work-life balance, right? And the thing is that we have to try to give 1,000% into everything we do, and making time to do each one of these things, right? Like so in the morning, I spend time working on my body, I work on my mind, and then throughout the day I'm working in my community and relationships, and then throughout that day I'm working on my business. So there's only so much that we can do ourselves in a day, right? Like I can only get so far by myself, but pulling in volunteers, pulling in hired help, pulling in experts, pulling in people, or investing in yourself. Maybe like there's this company that I used to work for, and I sat down with the owner of it, and it was a big credit card company where they did merchant services, and we went around pulling all the old credit card machines out and putting in the new ones. He invested $250,000 in a system just to run his business. So, and the system was like a diagram of everybody's job and what everyone's responsibilities were and how the whole business ran and how everything worked together and who was responsible for what. And he invested that money back into his business. And I'm sure in return, like he's made millions and millions and millions off of that business. It was a huge international business. So it's evaluating what's going on, prioritizing what you need to get done, and then pulling in people around you. Pull your family in, pull your friends in, pull volunteers in. I've had many people come along and volunteer to come help with my marketing, help with creating content and videos and images for Limitless, and a lot of them just came just on their own. So and you can also, put something out there, put something on your page and say, hey, as you guys can see, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Things are going so great right now. I could really use a helping hand. If anyone knows anything about, A, B, and C, please shoot me a DM. Reach out and ask for some help, because we're only going to get so far as the lone wolf. So I think that hopefully that answers your question, Dr. G.
Yeah, I don't see any other. I'm just. Can you see the comments?
Yeah, I can see them now. They were there and then they went away. Now they're back. Everything cannot have equal priority. So you have rank importance to prioritize, or you will not get things done. I had to put my book on hold until my talk was done for Odd Boss. So it's a good point. I think you're right. Delegating, yes, but you know things can have equal importance, but you're going to have to figure out what does the micro management look like for each one of those. Some of those things can't be delegated. Some of those things can be delegated. Some things require your immediate attention. Some things are going to be a long process that maybe you need a team to help you with. Um, I don't think that there's one correct answer for that, for what we're talking about, but it's just everyone's going to have to evaluate what they have in front of them and make the best decision possible to get the thing done as quickly as possible. And sometimes, like I said, like you might want to pay into something to invest to get something way bigger in return for your ROI.
Can you see Dave said that's the toughest thing for me is to ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's for everybody, even for me, at times. Like I feel like, man, I can do it better myself. I might as well just get it done. It's gonna take them way longer to do what I can do, blah blah blah. And again, I think that's a form of excuse of myself not trusting that somebody else can get it done, or letting go of something. And if you don't let go, if you don't delegate, you're gonna pay the price for it. I paid multiple times for that in the beginning, and like my general contracting business, same idea, same concept. I'm running around do as much as I can by myself, but eventually I had 14 carpenters, 8 laborers, and 6 subcontractors, and I'm running around with my head cut off, and then I had to find management to manage all the rest of the teams. Like every team had a manager, and like I had to communicate with them. They told me what they needed. They literally just oversaw the jobs, and that again, I had to evaluate, like, what am I missing? Like I'm losing my mind, and what it was every team needed somebody, a foreman ahead of them for me to communicate with. So just making your best judgment to create a strategy. I think we think tactical a lot, and it harms us. So like creating a strategy, a formula, a structure, a system, and putting it in place, and then adding to that system as it grows, I think that's most helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so key how you said adding to it as it grows, because things change, right? And then we keep using our old ways, but
yep,
things change.
And that's another thing too with the excuses is like as new information, new data shows up, we have to take that into consideration of our previous decision. So if I made a decision on something and then if this thing's growing and blowing up and like there's chaos and all this stuff going on, and then I come up with, I just didn't have enough time, or I didn't go back and take in consideration the new information I have of that, wow, like somebody came to me and said, we don't have enough people. I ignored it. Like sometimes we need to like shut up and listen because our environment will talk to us. It'll tell us what it needs. I'm guilty of it too. Like whether it's maybe egotistical that I think I know better and I'm like, no, we got this, or I just didn't pay attention to it because I was busy with something else. But it's a constant evaluation of our growth. I think that's pretty much the best answer I can give. Absolutely. I totally agree, Dr. G. You got to have that trust there. That's the basis of every relationship is having that trust there. So I totally agree there. So like with the excuses, at the end of the day, it's just being, for me, it's just be real with yourself and be real with what you're talking about, and don't just give a surface level answer to what is happening and then blow it off. I think habitually, like we're trained to give excuses, and we're trained to lie. Like, is there going to be kids watching this?
Not right in the moment, unless someone is showing it to their kids.
Okay, so well, the reason is because it's traditional for us to tell white lies, and it's okay, like Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and like all these things. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that psychologically it has a harder effect later in life than the innocent little white lie that we told in the beginning, right? Like, maybe that's a little extreme what I'm talking about, but it's an example. And I think that, like, hey, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing great. It's just a habitual response. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you ain't doing great. I know that you're not feeling good. I know you're dealing with depression. I know that you're having a hard time. Talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, until we can say the truth, until we can speak the truth, no matter how bad our voice squeaks, dude, we're gonna keep coming up with the same problems, and we're never gonna come up with a solution.
Yeah. I think too, it like something that was true for me was like the society norm. Oh, well, if I told someone that this is why, they would be like, oh yeah, that is really hard. Oh yeah, that's okay then. Oh, those are really shitty circumstances.
Yeah.
Kind of like, well, single moms are supposed to have it hard. Yeah. Like, and it was like, that's bullshit. Like, no, we don't. Like, why does that have to be, like, and it's like, well, everyone would say it's okay, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
social contracts that we're trained,
Yeah.
and brought up into, and honestly, it creates victim mentalities, and that's why I'm so extreme with the content that I give out, and I take things to an extreme because
Yeah.
even if they grasp half of what I'm saying, they're gonna be okay. You know what I mean? And so I just like things are non-negotiable, unacceptable for me, like in my life and the people around me and the people in Limitless. Like that's the mentality I want them to have. Like any excuse is unacceptable. I don't care if Jesus just fell through my ceiling and broke my arm and that's why I didn't play baseball today. Like it's unacceptable. Like I should have been in another room. Like there's always something I could have been doing. I shouldn't have been sitting in that room watching Netflix. I should have been reading my book in the other room and he wouldn't have landed on me. Like there's like I just refuse to allow like a victim mentality. Even if it was a legitimate excuse somewhere down the line, somehow, some way, like it's just having the mentality of I won't accept it and I'm gonna change it. Like because when we have ownership of it, then we can change it. When we say, oh, like I didn't have enough time today, you literally just took all your ownership and threw it out the window. You don't have any control over that situation anymore. And anything could happen. If you say that to me, you just messed up because I'm gonna call you out on it. But the norm, the social contracts would be like, man, yeah, you know what? I didn't have enough time today either. And I think it's just getting around the right people too. Make sure you're around the right people. Make sure you're listening to the right people. Make sure you're getting great information and find people that you vibe with. And, it's just all around in life. Like everything matters in your day and
Yes.
what you do, what you like, every little experience, every little thought, every little interaction, every person you talk to, all of it matters. And I think it's very much overlooked. And that's what creates these social contracts for excuses to be okay or for us to tell white lies or any of these little things. I mean, might sound extreme, but
Something, if you don't mind, like something that I think is important too that we can relate with delegating, because if you're hopping on now, we talked about, if you need help, ask for help, delegate, and prioritize what you need to be doing. And when you talk about taking ownership, a lot of times I think with delegating, we go, well, I told my assistant or I told so and so to do it. They screwed up. It's their fault. And I had this life coach a few years ago who said, it is never my staff's fault. It is always my fault. Either I didn't
yes,
explain it properly, or I picked the wrong person. I employed the
absolutely.
wrong person. So it's always my fault. Like, you know what I mean? But the nice thing, and I like that you touched on this about it being my fault, is that it's in my control. Because
Yes.
if it's not my fault, then I can't do shit about it. But if it's my fault, well, then it's in my control to do something about it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
1000%. Yep. I mean, I know it seems like this is off topic from the excuse, but the control thing is very important, and I think that a lot of people are like, oh, being a control freak or trying to control everything. It's not a good thing. I think it's very much the opposite, and I think that that's another social contract or a belief that we're taught because you have to be in control. The only time I let go of control is if there's an expert in front of me that knows more about whatever the problem is, whatever the subject is than I do, right? So let's say I don't know anything about cars. Like I'm going to be in control of this car until something happens to this car that I can't fix. I just don't have the knowledge for. I'm going to give up my control of this car to somebody else and then they can teach me or they can fix it, and by me remaining in control, then I have responsibility. I can change anything with that car, and it goes for anything. I think that having like a control culture in your life, in your business, is huge. When something goes wrong in the office,
In business, yeah.
instead of it being like one of these where they're pointing fingers, I think that, oh, you know what, the printer ran out of ink. Who didn't put cartridges in the ink in the printer? I think every person there should raise their hand and say me, because
Mm,
everyone's in control now. Like, it's not a
mm,
bad thing that it ran out of ink. You're not in trouble. We need
mm-hmm,
a solution, right? So
mm-hmm.
like if everybody creates a culture of I did it, I'll take the blame for
Yeah.
it. I did it, then it's gonna get fixed. Does that make sense?
I think, especially because I work in healthcare, that I think it's important to say when we're talking about control, we're not meaning like control another person, and the way that you can take your control back in a situation if
Oh yeah.
you're in a not healthy situation with another person, like you can't control another person.
No.
Your control is I don't have to expose myself to this shit and I'm walking away.
Other
That's the
people, to an
yeah.
extent, other people are none of your business. Absolutely at
Yeah.
all. Like, I mean, you could be married to somebody for 34 years, and tomorrow they wake up and be like, "Dude, I'm out of here." Like, I
Mm,
mean, you could try to fix the relationship, but that's their choice. They can leave.
exactly. Yeah.
You know. So I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, like in your own personal space. You know, like the things that you can control, not people,
Yeah.
not what's
Yeah.
going
I just
on.
wanted to clarify for anyone just in case, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So, if there's one thing you would have people do today that could help them start to make a positive step towards the life they actually say they dare to live, they want to live, what's one thing someone can hop off this live stream tonight and go do that will start getting their gears turning in their mind and set them up for success, for
Be
change?
honest. Be honest with yourself and stop lying. I think that would be the biggest thing. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean that as like a shot at you. I mean that as take some time. I don't care if it's a day, a month. I don't care if it's the rest of the year, whatever, however much time you need to really come to terms with who you are and where you're at in your life, right? Because you can tell yourself a lot of things like, oh, you know, like I don't need to go to gym, I don't need to eat healthy, I'm pretty much healthy, I'm okay. But in reality, like maybe you are a little bit heavy, maybe you are eating too much sugar, like whatever it is, like by you saying that you're all right, that's not you being honest with yourself and lying to yourself. And it could be little things. Even the little white lies are just as horrible as a fraudulent huge lie. And when you can see that and take that with you, like doors open, your life changes, things change. Like you become back in control of your life, and you're able to change the things that you do not like. It's amazing the how quickly things can turn around at the drop of a dime just by you being honest with yourself and not lying about things. And I would make excuses completely unacceptable in your life. I don't care what, even if it is something that was way completely out of your control, a huge chain of events happened that affected you. Take responsibility for it, and from there, I think that you'll be able to change the things that you do not want in your life.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I can't let you go off without this one last thing. There's something that John has people do when they work with him, and I did it once, and I was like, even just the first night, I was like, oh my God, this is no joke. Can you tell them what you have people write down?
I have people write down in the morning and at night for about 2 weeks, and you
How
can do
many
it
times?
a
How many
hundred,
times?
a hundred.
Uh-huh.
So and you can do this for 2 weeks, or you can do it longer if you need to, and you can do this with any statement. But the one thing that is most important, I think, in everyone's life is awareness. I think that is like the most important thing. So I have them write down, I am aware of my thoughts and actions. Matt Johnson's in here. He's one of my one-on-one clients, and he can attest to what I'm talking about. I am aware of my thoughts and my actions. Write it 100 times in the morning, 100 times at night, and do it for 2 weeks. And when you write it, don't just write it to, write the stuff down and get the task done. Do it while thinking about it. I am aware of my thoughts and my actions. Think of the thoughts that you're having, the self-doubt, the negative talks, the way that you're talking to other people, the things that are going on in your mind that you don't say out loud. That's a part of not lying. Like if you feel down, if you feel depressed, if you don't like somebody and you don't say anything, that is a form of lying. It's a form of dishonesty, and it eats away at your conscience. But I'm aware of my thoughts and my actions. You're constantly evaluating throughout the day the thoughts that you're having, the things that you're doing, what you're participating in, who you're talking to. Check in your texts. What are the texts saying? What do the emails say? What type of post are you liking? Does it have to do with your life or your business? Is it just a funny meme? Is it an ignorant meme? You know, like there's so much that goes on throughout your day, and you're completely unaware of it. And even today, I've been doing this for almost a decade myself. And even today, I will find things in my day, 10 years later, where I'm like, holy man, what is this? Like, I did not even realize I was doing this because it was just a social contract. It's a habit that I've had for so long that I didn't realize I was even doing it. That, I promise you'll get a lot out of it.
You will. Make sure you do it tonight. Make sure you do it. Oh my God, I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough for
I love being here.
Thank you so much. Like I said, this man is the real deal. If you really are trying to change your life around or reach a goal, if there's something that you know you need to be doing and you can't, for whatever pretty excuse or reason, get yourself to do or make a move in the right direction, this is the man who's going to kick your ass to get you some results. So I highly recommend you check him out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll catch all you guys soon.
Bye.